8th, 2020 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th order, stating certain provisions of the open meeting law, and the governor's March 15th order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Town of Burlington's Conservation Commission is being conducted through remote participation, otherwise known as Zoom. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Did someone say something? Okay. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by tuning into the BCAT Government Access Cable Channel or the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook Live feed. Or you can join the meeting at telephone number 408-418-9388, and it's meeting number 173-202-1395. If you need that information, it's on the screen for the moment now. However, if you need that information, you can go to the Town of Burlington, go to their calendar, go to tonight's meeting for the Conservation Commission, click on the agenda after you click on that date, and when the agenda comes up, the information for participating in this meeting is on the agenda. New public hearings open tonight will not be closed so as to allow comments from those who are unable to access or uncomfortable with this technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org before the next meeting on October 22nd. The next item is to do a roll call. All votes, in addition to the roll call, will be done by named roll call, and the members of the commission, it will say either aye or present. Okay, Don Bernstein.
Aye.
Gail Lima.
Present.
Indra Deb. Not here. Bill Boyven.
Present.
Jennifer O'Riordan. Not here. Ed Laturco. Not present. Kent Moffett. Not present. Our administrator, John Keeley.
Here.
Our assistant administrator, Eileen Coleman.
Here.
Okay. As far as the agenda, if you happen to be here for item 6, 7, and 8, which is the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street, and number 5 Redmond Street, those items on the agenda will be continued until our next meeting on October 22nd. So if you're here for that, they will not be heard. A continuance was requested and granted. I will ask the applicants to introduce themselves and where you're located, your residence, and all votes will be by roll call. The meeting is being recorded, and now we can resume the agenda. The first item on the agenda, is there anyone that is on this call, either by telephone or by video feed, that would like to talk about something not on the agenda? Is there anything? You can have some time now if that's the case. All right, the record should show no one volunteered for citizens' time. The next is approval of minutes, September 24th, 2020. Do we have any reason to put a hold on that?
Nope, they look good to me.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of September 24th, 2020 of the Burlington Conservation Commission?
So
It's
moved.
Gail.
Bill.
Oh, good, Bill.
Okay, was there a second?
Second, Gail.
All right, so we have, so the motion's on the floor to approve the minutes. How do you vote? Dawn?
Yes.
Gail? Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The vote is 400. Okay, unless there's another commissioner on. Okay, next we have a continued public hearing. This is a notice of intent on 102R Wynn Street. Mr. Inho Lee is looking for directional drill of a new sewer line for a tear down of a dwelling and construction of a new dwelling. Far as I know, the DEP number is pending unless we have it. Okay, Mr. What was that, Gail? I mean,
No, it's okay. DEP 650.
okay. All right. Mr. Inho Lee, are you here? Are you a representative?
This is Steve Dresser. I'm calling in by phone. Can you hear me?
We can, Steve.
Okay. Steve Dresser, Dresser Williamson Way, representing Mr. Inholee. As you stated, this is a continued public hearing. We had some comments at that public hearing, and we have made revisions. I'm actually on the road, so I can't share a plan or anything like that. I let John up, so I hope hopefully you guys have the plan.
Yes.
Access to that. The things that were discussed and revised, we provided some drainage calculations in the infiltration system. It will handle storms up to 4 inches for the house. As part of that, we did raise the infiltration system a foot. I went back and looked at some test holes we had done for the septic system. And in one corner of that system, there was bedrock. It's not a groundwater issue, but we did raise it to have a 2-foot clearance above the bedrock. We added a drainage trench at the toe of the slope along the driveway. I'm not sure that came up specifically, but it seemed like it was in order once we had the discussion at one section where there's a pretty good slope coming off the driveway to get a little bit of infiltration. Even though it's far from the wetlands, it still seemed appropriate. We have moved the sewer manhole closer toward Wynn Street in order to avoid the 20-foot no flare zone. The manhole was always going to be outside of it, but they need a little bit of room there, so that was not a big deal. We have reduced the slope on the southerly side of the home. It was pointed out, there was a pretty significant slope there. As I looked into it, it was a fill, not a cut. So it just seems like to lessen that and either have some foundation exposure or build a knee wall on that side seemed more appropriate than bringing in all that fill. We have revised the plan to show hay bales at the slopes for the downhill of the construction, and we provided wattles along the driveway were one of the comments. One of the outstanding things is we had discussed the crossing of the concrete metal pipe. I think it will be okay. I did find some charts that say 12 inches of cover would be all that was necessary, and there is a little bit over 20 inches. So I added a cross section on the plan to show that. Mr. Lee has hired a structural engineer who can provide a letter saying that's okay. And we were asked to reach out to the abutter to see if we could provide access from Duncan Drive, but we were unable to make contact with him. We have no problem if the commission would condition that we continue to do that, and if we're not able to provide that access, then we need to provide a letter from a structural engineer we need to access from Wynn Street. So that's about it. Any questions? Be glad to answer them. Mr. Lee is here as well.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Dresser. John or Eileen, do you have some comments? Specifically, do we need anything more from this applicant? And if you have any comments on the changes to the plan.
So I think the applicant provided all the information the commission requested. I don't think we need more information. Just logistically, though, we had prepared a draft for this meeting, and I guess I need to ask Don if he had got a chance to watch the last meeting on cable, because we have 3 members out, and I'm not sure we have enough people to vote on this. So Don, did you get a chance to watch this? That would meet the Mullins rule requirement?
Actually, I did not get a chance.
Okay. So with 3 members out who were at that meeting, we only have 3 members who were at the last public hearing for this, Larry.
All right, so does that mean by necessity we have to continue it?
Unless somebody else shows up. I know Jennifer had an issue that came up, and I knew that Ed did. I didn't know that Indra wasn't going to be here, so, but yes, I think.
Let me ask the applicant, Mr. Dresser, how much of a burden it is if we continue this until October 22nd?
Mr. Lee would answer that, but I don't think you have a choice, Larry. You don't have a quorum who's seeing the presentation. I don't think you have a choice.
The only choice is we call one of the commissioners like Indra. He has seen he was at the previous meeting. And these are just the changes that were requested. So he could log on and vote if he was available. But so the question is, do we need to go to that length?
Mr. Lee, either Peter or Karika, are you on the meeting?
Yeah, we're in.
I hear.
You understand what's happening?
No, we understand what's been happening. So, yeah, we love to pursue, but if the given circumstances, we have no problem waiting.
Okay. They don't have a problem continuing, Larry.
All right. Okay, Mr. Dresser.
What is the process from here, though? Will the member who didn't get a chance to watch the first meeting watch that? Or
So either that or at the next meeting, either of the other 3 members who were at the previous meeting will be at the next meeting.
Okay, do we need to make this presentation over again, or?
No.
Okay.
I'll just ask them to watch this meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
As long as they watch it on cable. And in the interim, we will. I'll send you tomorrow the draft decision that we had ready
I
for tonight.
appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so let's see if there's any comments from the commission. Gail, do you have any comments at all or questions?
No, it seemed to address all the things we brought up last time, and they, also added, which is something we probably would have asked for, the stone trench along the driveway.
All right. Dawn, any questions or comments?
No, not at this time.
All right. Bill?
Nope, nothing further.
Okay. Steve, are you still online?
I am.
Okay. Did you say that two comments? One is, did you say there was a knee wall being put up on the right side of the house as you face the house?
That's a potential solution. It's just an aesthetic thing, but without that fill bringing in, they're either going to have to extend the foundation or build a knee wall at that place.
Would the wall be higher than?
What they want to see there? Do they want to see concrete, or do they want to see a frame with some,
Right.
with siding?
Would the wall be higher than 4 feet?
Then the knee wall?
Yeah, unless I don't know what a knee wall is.
Well, it would be in lieu of a foundation, where a foundation would normally be like 8 feet, and then you would fill up against it. That's what the plan
Okay,
is.
so
instead,
you're not talking a separate
wall.
All right.
What's that?
So you're not talking a separate standing wall.
No.
Okay.
It's
All right.
just a stick frame in lieu of concrete, basically.
All right. And the other is, did you say, I didn't quite catch it, that the stormwater system was designed for 4 inches of rain in 24 hours?
Yes.
So that's like a 20 or 25-year storm, isn't that? Is that true?
I think it's just short of a 25-year storm.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to know. I want to make sure I heard you correctly.
Okay.
Okay. I have nothing further. Is there anyone in the audience for this? This is the continued public hearing for 102R Wynn Street. Okay, the record should show there is no comments from the audience. All right, so we'll continue this meeting. Do we need a vote to continue, John?
Yes.
Could I have a motion to continue the continued public hearing of 102R Wynn Street to October 22nd?
Gail, so moved.
Second,
Second, Bill.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Vote is 400 to continue this hearing. Okay,
Thank you.
folks, sorry we couldn't close it out tonight, but we'll do it quickly on the 22nd.
Stuff happens. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, next. Okay, let's see. Okay. All right. Item 5, notice is hereby given that the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing during which time we will take information related to a notice of intent filed by 101 Francis Wyman Road LLC for the construction of a 6-lot residential subdivision with 2 cul-de-sacs at 101 Francis Wyman Road in Burlington. The proposed work
Wait,
would be,
well, that's the wrong legal ad.
is it?
Yes.
That's the one I thought I got sent. Maybe I'm mistaken. Have any other legal ad? This is for an amendment, right?
Right.
And that one is not the amendment. Well, you can either send it to me or I can make it up and just amend what I have here. I downloaded everything that I was sent, so I don't think I got it. I don't think. Okay.
I didn't put it in the drive since I thought I had sent it to Larry. I think.
You may have, and I may have missed it. That could happen. I can look for it. When did you send it? I got the script. And is 108 Muller? No, this is not 108 Muller. This is 101 Francis Wyman. I do not see it, Eileen. At least, I don't think so. All right.
Eileen, you're not on mute.
Oh, I am on mute. Sorry. Thank you. I was just saying, John, do you have access to it? Because the Chromebook is being slow. I'm trying to look at my email.
Access to it where?
All right.
I'm at home, so I don't have access to the G drive.
All right. So, all right. So, okay, notice is given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold an amendment to an existing order of condition for 101 Francis Wyman Road. Okay, this was for the construction of a 6-lot residential subdivision with 2 cul-de-sacs located at 101 Francis Wyman Road. We'll take all information related to the amendment and will thereafter decide whether or not to affirmatively issue an amendment to the existing order of conditions. The original subdivision plan was approved on September 17th. Okay, anyone that has comments that they would like to submit in writing can submit them to conservation@burlington.org. All right, so we have officially opened an amendment. Who is here for that agenda item?
I am, sir. Ed Champion, Waypoint Development, also the owner of General Walker Estates.
All right. So you're welcome to say what you would like to say. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, just in explaining a little bit, this has been going on for some time, and I'll try and give a little background so to explain why we're here today. Originally, this was approved prior to us acquiring the property as a cul-de-sac at Dartmouth Road, and then at 101 Francis Wyman, a second cul-de-sac was approved in order to get significant, or enough frontage, I should say, for a two-house subdivision cul-de-sac off of Francis Wyman. The planning board had suggested that the zoning board of appeals that relief be sought to allow to remove the cul-de-sac and therefore have 75 feet of frontage, which is insufficient in that location. The relief was granted. That was, again, prior to us acquiring the site. Since then, we've gone back and edited the plan, Steve Dresser being the engineer, and removed the cul-de-sac itself. And we went back to the planning board. Not only do we remove the cul-de-sac, but because we removed a significant amount of impervious material, we're able to reduce the size of the stormwater infiltration systems. The original one was taking the cul-de-sac plus the impervious around the dwellings, and it was infiltrating the stormwater. And the current system now only has two driveways. There's no longer a cul-de-sac, so it's been removed. And it went back to the planning board. The planning board then requested that originally went to the planning board, and the houses were closer to the road than the planning board would have liked. So they asked that we push the houses back. So that happened, and that took place in September, and it was approved by the planning board. So now what we have is two houses with separate driveways to each. In the rear of the houses, there's the stormwater infiltration systems. They're independent of each other, and it's a new plan, and it's got less impervious. And this is the direction that was given based on the ZBA approvals, and now follows all the requirements.
Okay, Eileen, is this the plan that we're talking about here? That was being shown? You're muted, Eileen.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, I was just trying to show the plan as he was speaking. This is the two homes that are now closer to the driveway, to the frontage than they were before, and each has an individual infiltrator.
And, okay. All right, so let's, John or Eileen, do you have, or both of you, do you have comments on this amendment?
I'm sorry, that's me. I just realized I think I wasn't sharing the plan just there. I was just talking to myself. Do I have comments? I think it's an improvement in that there's actually less impervious area now. There's less driveway. They're closer to the road. And I think it makes sense to have two separate infiltrators rather than having to deal with figuring out who's going to do the monitoring and management of one between two houses. So I think I have no issue with it. I think it makes sense.
And so
Okay,
Larry, just to clarify, so this application, this proposal was under the bylaw only, and it included the Dartmouth Road lots, as well as these two lots on Francis Wyman. This amendment does not affect the lots on Dartmouth at all. It's just the two lots on Francis Wyman Road.
all right. Eileen, while we're discussing this, could you put up the plan that shows the revised plan?
I will. Come on. Can you see it?
Not yet. Whoa, wait a minute, it's coming up.
That is the plan.
All right. Okay, so we're talking about the two frontage lots on Francis Wyman.
Yep.
All right. And, all right. So let's see if there's questions or comments. Gail, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I can't see the plan that well in terms of the grades and things like that, but, based on what was said, there's less impervious area, and having the two separate storm scepters seems to be adequate there.
Okay. All right. Dawn, do you have any comments on this one?
Not at this time, no.
All right, Bill.
I think it's an improvement. My only question is, what is happening to the driveway runoff? It's hard to judge which way it's flowing from the drawing. The infiltrators are only for rooftop.
They are, I can, Steve Dresser was on this call earlier, but he's not here now. I believe, and I'll have to ask Steve, it may fall under the fact that we have less impervious than the prior, than the original home, and I'm not sure if that's which way the runoff's going. I'd have to ask Steve. But I do know that we have, there's less impervious than the prior.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Bill?
No.
So my question is, from the point of view of the neighbors on each side, will they see this, or should they see this as an improvement?
Mr. Chair, are you addressing that question to me?
I think so, because you're the only one here to represent this project.
Yes, I apologize. I didn't know if there was a neighbor on the call.
No.
So both neighbors have been part of the process. So they've seen the process, and during the zoning board of appeals process, there would have been a 20-day appeal period, and they would have been notified of all these approvals prior to them taking place from a planning and from a zoning perspective. So we have no reason to believe they think it's negative, because we didn't hear negative thoughts from either. There are some things within the covenants of us repairing and restacking some stone walls that are adjacent to the property, and we've agreed to that. I was out in the property last week, and one of the neighbors came out, and my business partner and I were just tidying up some things for the wattles and the sill fences and whatnot, and we talked to her about that and further. So we had a good conversation when moving forward.
All right, so no issues that you're aware of are reporting tonight?
No, not from the immediate abutters to the left or to the right.
And could you put up that diagram again, Eileen?
Yep. Can you see it?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I do now. It looks like from the grades that the house at the top of the drawing, I don't know how you've designated it, Mr. Champy, but it appears that water, the natural grades used to flow on the property towards the top of there's a slope towards the property in the top. Given that now you're going to have, a significant house there, is there going to be any surface water runoff? I realize that you're handling the roof, but is there going to be any surface water runoff, or do you need a swale to help convey water to the back of your own property or not? I'm not sure you can answer that. That's really a question for Mr. Dresser.
It is, but I can tell you that I grubbed the entire area along that side of the property last week, and there's a slight depression prior to the swale, as you might call it, prior to the neighbor.
Yeah, well, it may be that we need a formally designated swale, and whether or not you've dug it already, I mean, that's great. That's not the issue.
No, sir, I didn't dig it. It was there. I was just grubbing.
Oh, okay. Well, if something needs to be on the plan, I think we need to just simply put that question to Mr. Dresser. That's all. I don't see it as a big issue, but I don't think we want additional water running off to the property because of the new construction and stuff. So I think that's my only comment. Is there anyone in the audience? This is the project at
Excuse me,
101.
Mr. Chair, I apologize for interrupting. I had texted Steve Dresser to find out about the driveways,
Yes,
and he said it's going back to the road. It does that now, so it's okay. So it's within the guidelines.
okay, so it's going on into the road because it does so now.
Correct. There's a large impervious driveway currently now in the front of the existing structure.
John, is that how it's normally handled? That if a driveway discharges into the road with a total tear down, that nothing has to be done for mitigation or pitching the crown of the driveway?
No, we try to improve the situation. So I think there's stone trenches on the edge of the driveways on Dartmouth. I think we'd recommend something like that on these driveways as well.
Okay, so, all right, so trenches and possibly swell. Okay. And if there's going to be stone trenches, should we have spot grades? I'm wondering, so that you actually get the water going to where the trench is. So whoever does it knows that it's supposed to be pitched that way.
Sure.
Okay. So stone trench, spot grades on the driveway, and possibly a swale, depending on what Mr. Dresser has to say. Okay. Is there anything else? Is there anyone in the audience for 101 Francis Wyman Road that would like to make a comment on these changes, or I guess the entire project is eligible for comment since that's on the agenda? Nope, I guess the record should show that no one volunteered to make a comment. All right. So because we're doing this by no participation and the rules provide that we will not close tonight, Mr. Champy, I would anticipate, unless I hear otherwise from our staff, that we would close on October 22nd. We should get three things. Stone trench, we can put in the order. The spot grades, we can require that in the order. The swale on the plan, I think we need some feedback from Mr. Dresser. John or Eileen, do you have comments on anything else?
I think that does it.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? Could I have a motion to continue this amendment to 101 Francis Wyman Road to October 22nd?
So moved, Bill.
Second?
Second, Don.
Okay, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 4-0-0. Okay, sir, that's where we are.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. Now, that was number 5. As I said earlier, number 6, 7, and 8 having to do with the Redmond Street roadway, and unit number 4 and unit number 5 have been continued. We're now on.
Larry, you should vote to continue those. You can combine them, but you should take a roll call vote to continue those.
All right, could I have a motion to show?
Did you vote on 101 Francis Wyman roll call?
I think I
No.
just did.
Yes.
Okay. So do the same for Redmond.
Oh, I was going to say, if I didn't do it, then I'm talking to myself. Okay. So could I have a motion to continue Redmond Street roadway, Street, and number 5 Redmond Street by Somerset Realty Trust continued to the next meeting, October 22nd? Is there a motion?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Bill.
All right, Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 400. The Redmond Street items have been continued until October 22nd. Next, we have planning board comments. Do we have something on 108 Muller Road,
We do.
John?
We do.
All right.
So as you recall, the commission had a notice of intent for this project way back, I don't know, late winter, perhaps, I'm not sure. It's many months ago. The commission never closed the hearing because there was legal action that was delaying the approval at the planning board. So in discussions with the applicant's team, we agreed to just reopen the hearing later on, re-advertise it, repost it, and when they're ready to continue. In the interim, they've been working with the planning board, and they have ended up shifting the driveway that goes out to Corcoran Road, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Cormier Road, yeah. And so it will be actually shifted further from the pond, which is the resource area, those wetlands and a pond. And so the planning board is looking for guidance because they haven't acted because they're waiting to hear from comments from conservation. So they need to know how the commission feels about the shifting of that driveway. I would recommend that you approve it. It's further from the wetlands. I would note that the planning director is also on the meeting if you have questions for Kristen.
All right. Well, I think, Kristen, since you're on the meeting, would you like to make any comments without just responding to questions?
Sure. I can also show you a visual as to where the driveway was and where it's shifting to, if that would help.
Yes, that was actually the nature of my questions I was going to ask, so that would be very helpful.
Let's try this. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the planning board approved this subdivision back in 2019. The applicant is back in front of us. If you recall, the subdivision began coming from Muller Road down the very long drive that is, I think, self-named Flagway off Muller Road. They did back in 2006. I think it was Koch at the time when he developed out the two Cormier lots, 26 and 30. He reserved some right of way to Cormier. So back and forth. The planning board did approve. We're concerned about the Muller Road access just because of the narrow drive as well as the length. They did approve access from Cormier. What you see as the approval, so if you're looking from the top of the plan, I don't have cardinal directions here, but there's the kind of dotted line, which are the easements. The approved driveway is further, I guess, to the bottom right corner. The proposed new driveway stays completely within the kind of the top left, kind of going toward the top left in that piece of the easement. So the wetland where the pond is down in the bottom right, it actually moves it further away. It's about between, I think, 9 and 11 feet shift over. It's actually just a shift of the driveway. The planning board has asked to add some trees along the driveway. And the applicant at this point at least has seemed to agree to some of those conditions. And the one thing that they had questions about, neighbors had questions about, was that this project does have proximity to wetlands. The comment we had from John was that they need to come back to you to, continue the filing with the house construction, but the driveway itself is also within the buffer zone. So with that, the planning board really wanted to have you guys weigh in before they continued action because of, I think they always want to work with other departments. You guys have the 35 days to weigh in, but having this so much so in your jurisdiction, and wanted to at least get some comments and direction from the commission before they took any further action. So that's why we're here. Brian Levy, who represents the Invitskayas, who are the applicants, is also on this call, and he can certainly represent the applicant. I'm just here kind of giving you this, what the planning board had asked, and tried to get some feedback from you guys.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Kristen. All right, so I think, John and Eileen, I think you're all set. If that's the case, we'll go to see if Dawn has any further comment.
Not at this time, no.
Bill, any further comment on this?
I think it's an improvement, in the sense that it's further away from the resource area, still completely within the easement. And I think those proposed plantings would be appreciated by the neighbors and by me. I like it. So I'm all in favor of it.
All right, Gail, do you have any comments more?
No.
Yeah, I assume it says that the slope of the driveway, I assume the grading, it's a reasonably long driveway, I mean, modestly long. I assume, will there be spot grades on the driveway so it is sloped properly? So that the runoff doesn't negatively affect the neighbors? Or are you putting some type of swale? Swale or some stone trench to handle the water? How's the water being handled, in other words?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Brian Levy. I'm the attorney. I think Alan Nelson, the project engineer, may be on the line. Alan, are you there? Alan is not there. Well, if Alan were here, what he would tell you is yes, there's a stone trench under the road which has more than adequate capacity to handle the drainage from the driveway.
Yeah, I wasn't so much thinking about the stone under the road, or the driveway. I was thinking, along the sides of the road. We sometimes require stone trenches for water runoff. So I guess we'd put it within the easement, but on the, I don't know which side it is, some side. Does the plan reflect having a stone trench along the driveway to handle the water off the driveway?
For one, Mr. Chairman, the driveway is a pervious pavement.
Oh, okay.
Kristen, can I or can you share the other, there's another driveway drawing that we have?
Sure, I'll stop sharing. If I can.
Okay. I'll see if I can just get this on.
Well, I'll tell you that I do have a copy of the original plan, and it does say that it is a porous asphalt driveway.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Neil Russell, 26 Cormier Road. We are the direct abutter to the property.
Yes.
Quick comment, Alan Nelson was here about 2 weeks ago surveying the property. I believe he's intended to provide a new plot plan because the slope is going to be changed by the plan as to the impact of the drainage. I can't comment on that, but I believe an updated plan is supposed to be presented to the Conservation Commission in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, there's a full package of drainage plans and calculations that are on the, that have been uploaded to Viewpoint. I can't answer your specific question about whether there is stone along the side of the driveway, but I know that I've discussed the drainage with Alan, and he's told me that it's more than adequate. But in any event, we will be, if we are able to get an approval from planning, we will be before you, and we will have to, bear our burden of proof before you.
Right, right. This is only comment to planning board.
Yes.
Kent, I just noticed when my view shifted that you are now present. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, if I missed calling on you because I didn't know you were present, you have my apologies. But the record should show that Kent Moffett, our associate commissioner, is now present in the meeting. Okay, so, all right, so what it looks like, John, is from what I heard, is that the commission thinks it's an improvement. Is there anyone else or any of the butters want to continue making comments, or anyone here for this before we close this item out?
Yeah, just a quick comment from 26 Cormier, Neil Russell here. We're not looking for anything to be added to this property, trees, walls, anything. We enjoy our view down to the pond, and we are hoping to maintain that going forward.
Okay. I suspect that the planning board requested that a row of trees to essentially protect your view, sir, of the driveway. I suspect that the planning board would take into consideration, tell me if I'm right, Kristen, that if you don't mind the view of the driveway and like to continue seeing past the driveway towards the pond, they may consider not requiring trees. Kristen, is that?
That's correct. The planning board wants to try to, minimize the issues that the driveway may cause for the neighbors. So, I mean, that's where the tree conversation came up. I will say they did request that the driveway grade be explored further, and that's Al Nelson was out on the site, as the Russells mentioned, in terms of making sure that there's no runoff to the neighbors, any runoff that, anyway, any runoff should be mitigated. And I think, as mentioned, that they're trying to still figuring that out, but the grades were not as much of a concern, at least from the initial data that I've received, in terms of needing retaining walls and other things that were mentioned at our last meeting. But I think the board would look favorably at, your concerns about either if there's any additional gravel swales or other items that are needed outside of the pervious driveway. So thank you for those comments. But yeah, in terms of the trees, I think they're just trying to figure out what works best for what the neighbors are looking for. If the driveway is, it will be in a location somewhere in there.
Larry?
Okay, is there anyone else on
Larry
this?
Scale.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I just wanted to comment for the Russells and neighbors that trees may help with any runoff from the road. And also by adding more pavement, there's going to be more heat that's generated, and the trees will help kind of reduce the heat island effect. So, they're the ones that live there. If I live there, I certainly would want more trees.
Neil Russell again from here. A comment about the grade on the wall, on the potential retaining wall. I have to mow this lawn. My John Deere can barely make it up the grade as it exists today, and I've expressed concern to the planning board that anything that changes the grade to this hill is basically going to make it much more difficult to maintain my property. And I'm extremely concerned that this is going to change the grade of my property to the extent that I'm either going to have to get a different type of mower, or I'm going to have to pay a landscaping service to mow it if the grade is changed in any manner at all here. So this is why we raised the issue of a potential retaining wall along here, such that my property maintains the current grade. This property had almost twice the grade before we took possession in 2011, and we have intentionally filled in across that right-of-way in order to mitigate the drainage and fill it in as much as possible. There was, I know our contractor did a lot of work with the engineering department and the Conservation Commission back in 2011 and to make sure that happened. So it seems that this is going to take away some of the advantage of what we did back in 2011.
Mr. Chairman, may I be heard?
Who's speaking? Yes, please do.
Yeah, so just to respond briefly, Mr. Russell's home is way uphill from the roadway. It's not in any danger of any drainage issues. The elevation change, the cut or the fill of the driveway is going to be super minor, and there will be no retaining wall.
But are you changing the grade from what he has now? It sounds like your
It will
answer is
be-
what?
So many years ago, there was a road in this area. After the Russells moved in, they came to my clients and they said, "Can we fill this in?" My client said, "Fine, you can," and the Russells did. So we're now removing some of that fill that had been there previously.
I see. So he had a better grade, Mr. Russell, previously, and now they're proposing to remove the fill that you filled a few years back. Is that correct?
This area flooded in a heavy rain previously. That's part of the reason for that regrading. The entire lot we live on, not just this corner, but the entire lot has been regraded partially because of those drainage issues and also the maintenance of a lawn. It was more or less untamed bushes and weeds when we took possession of that, and it's all been regraded and filled with grass, which is greatly mitigated the runoff. And again, cutting into this grade that we've put in there it's basically going to make, as far as I can tell, my mower is not going to be able to make it up that grade after they regrade this.
Kristen, is this something that the planning board should take up? It sounds like, it's part of construction that affects the neighbor. It's not the normal thing that the Conservation Commission gets involved with respect to, for example, additional water onto someone else's property.
So those were the questions that the planning board did ask. I will say that outside of the easement, Mr. Russell's grade should remain exactly as it is. There shouldn't be any grading on his property, nor should there be any additional runoff from any driveway construction on his property. So the planning board's still working that out with the applicant, and I'm sure we can find a solution for that drainage.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who I neglected to call upon that should have some input here?
I have one more question, Larry. This is Bill.
Yes.
Porous pavement. How porous is porous pavement in the sense that if you have a porous pavement, you no longer have any concerns about driveway runoff?
So since there's no engineer here for the project, that is the case. So porous pavement, if it's maintained properly, the water just goes right into it and does not run off it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So this project is going to be coming to us as a full notice of intent. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
So we already got a notice of intent, so it'll be a reopening of the public hearing from that we previously opened.
All right. So some of the normal things having to do with water runoff and so forth, we will explore that during the hearing anyway.
Correct.
All right. So all we need is a motion, send a letter that talks about that the commission viewed the proposed changes to the driveway as favorable relative to conservation interests. Would you say that statement is correct?
Yes.
John?
Yes, absolutely.
And that, do we need to have a vote on this at all? Or do we just send the planning board a letter? A note?
So, I send the planning board a memo or a viewpoint. So I've gotten the sense from the commission, this isn't anything formal, so I don't really, I've gotten the sense, I think, that the commission's unanimous on this, so.
Yeah, unless we hear something different.
Mr. Chairman, Neil Russell again. My neighbor is 30 Cormier is going to be directly affected by this drainage. We weren't aware that this was going to be discussed tonight, but in fairness to represent him, he's extremely concerned about the winter, not the rain runoff, the ice and snow pileup, and how that pervious driveway is supposed to handle snow and ice, and where the snow and ice is going to be moved to, just as a further comment.
And that's a very valid comment, and it would be, I'd be surprised if one of the commissioners did not bring up how the snow is going to be handled and where it's going to be placed, exactly as you just put it.
And so Larry, just to reiterate, so everybody will be, when this reopens, all the abutters will be notified of the public hearing reopening. So everybody will get notification.
Right, right. All right, so I think, John, could you summarize some of the discussion to the planning board here? That there was
Yes.
concern about the grades, concern about where the snow is going to be placed, concern about, and, you know, how the snow plowing was going to be done, and how much, water is the porous pavement going to take, and whether we need a stone trench or not.
Okay,
Mention these items, please.
okay,
But overall, on the placement, the letter will say that the commission views the proposed placement, revised placement of the driveway favorably from a conservation point of view.
okay.
Would you also mention the trees as well? That Mr. Russell was thinking that maybe they either don't need trees or don't need densely packed trees. Maybe some trees that wouldn't totally obstruct their view across might be a compromise. I don't know. That discussion needs to be had with these folks. And between them and the planning board and the applicant. Do you need a motion to send this letter, or you think this is enough, John?
I mean, it's up to you. I certainly haven't heard anything from the commission that was opposed to shifting the driveway, so.
Okay, so we don't normally have to have a motion for you to send comments to the
No,
planning
this isn't a formal thing. This is just to get your feelings on it, for me to, you know, generally I comment to the planning board without, you know, this level of detailed discussion with the board, so.
Right. All right, if you could just mention those things, that these things were brought up, I think the planning board would appreciate having a list. Kristen, is there anything else before we move on?
No, I think this discussion was very good, and I think the planning board will appreciate your feedback.
All right. Thank you for sitting through our meeting, Kristen.
We're usually just getting started, so no problem. Good
All
job,
right.
guys, for running through so quick.
Yeah, we try to be efficient. All right, so we'll move on. Thank you, everyone who was on for this item.
Thank you.
We'll move on to our next item. The next item is subcommittee and staff reports. Bill, do you have anything on town meeting at all that happened of interest to us?
There we go. Nothing really related to conservation. We did a couple of major items that were voted. We voted to no longer allow any self-storage facilities in town, which was pretty widely supported, and no longer allowing short-term rentals in town. So those two things were complete bans and were fairly unanimously supported.
Shucks, Bill, I was honestly thinking we need more self-storage and banks in town.
I guess we're not the first community to do that either.
Okay, next is other business. Oh, the next meeting will be October 22nd.
Larry?
Yes.
So under staff reports, I do have, so we issued an enforcement order this week to 60 Blanchard Road.
Yes.
I think I distributed it to you, and I'll need the board to vote to ratify the enforcement order. So the enforcement order was for the removal of the pavement on the old Datacon site by the current owners, who are Nordblum. They were preparing to reconstruct the parking lot without filing. There's obviously wetlands very, very close there. So we stopped them. We stopped them several weeks ago and been sort of figuring out how to proceed. So if you look at the enforcement order, I did give them permission to put down binder, because at this point, you know, the weather's going to start getting cold. It's going to become a problem with runoff. But it directs them to file a notice of intent to reconstruct the parking lot, and in doing so, make stormwater improvements. So, so that's what the enforcement order is for, and I need you to ratify. Vote to ratify.
All right, John, did you hear anything from the Nordblum folks?
Yes.
And what did they say?
They're fine with this solution.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Marshall apparently sold the property.
Correct.
Okay, any comments from the commission before we have a motion? Could I have a motion to ratify the enforcement order for the property located at 60 Blanchard Road?
So moved. Don.
Second?
Second, Gail.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes, in favor.
Don?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, it's ratified 400. Okay, anything else, John?
No, that's it.
You need to ratify the other enforcement order, John?
It sounds like they're preparing a restoration plan, correct?
Yes.
So I don't think we need to discuss it then.
Okay.
Which property was that?
It was 9 Stony Brook. There were some new owners who had inadvertently filled in some wetland and added loam to the backyard. But they've now come up with a restoration plan with help from Mary Trudeau. So we just got that today.
Okay, all right. Anything under other business?
No.
Larry, I have one more item from town meeting that I just remembered that did somewhat indirectly relate to conservation.
Yes.
There was an article about, it didn't specifically mention 50 Margaret Street, but it was about putting ground-mounted solar in a quote front yard of a property.
Yes.
And it was, the applicant was, the proponent of the warrant article was the developer at 50 Margaret Street. And if you remember that property, we went out for erosion and sedimentation permits, and it was a massive property, and it was very impressive. So I did raise the point that as conservation, I had gone out and seen this property, and that the definition of front yard was really, you know, the way the house was set, it could apply to 3/4 of the property. And, you know, that I felt that they should be allowed to put these solar panels on the property. I was outvoted pretty strongly, like 70-30 or something like that. Because they were afraid it would set a precedent by just saying you could put it in a front yard, that anybody could do it in their front yard. But this property is so unique that, you know, the other neighbors around them can't even see this, where these things would be located. But I did raise the fact that we had been there as a erosion and sedimentation permit and had looked at the property.
Right. So, I guess it was, you're saying they didn't want to set a precedent.
Correct. And so they did not want to change the rules about the zoning regulations about allowing this type of setup in somebody's front yard, even with special permit, because they're afraid issuing this property a special permit would open the floodgates.
Okay, well, regardless of whether we personally agree with that, town meeting has spoken.
That's correct.
All right, I have one other thing. I'd like to talk about a former commissioner for a moment. And so if anybody is watching this, they will get the benefit of knowing that about, I don't know, over a year ago, or over a year and a half ago, our commissioner, Kerry Melanson, had spent 25 years on the commission, and she retired from the Conservation Commission. And she retired abruptly, and then we thought about doing something for her to recognize her service to the town. We were waiting for, we thought of a gift, and then we were waiting for it to resume in public so she could attend one of our meetings in public at Town Hall, but it looks like that was not meant to be. So recently we got together with as many commissioners as were available, and it was filmed by BCAT. And we said some nice words, and we said that when some large projects came through the town, Kerry was there when HMAT came through, when Sun Microsystem was permitted, a very long and lengthy permitting process. She was there for that. And Kerry was there when a project, you might know it as the Wegmans area, the Third Avenue project, which was a very large project as well, having many components, and Kerry was there as well. So on September 30th, some of us gathered and we went over to Kerry's home, and we made a presentation to her, and we said some nice things about all her contribution and how well prepared she always was. She went on all the site visits, and she had her plans always marked up in red. Sometimes there was more red on the plan than there was actually printing on the plans. And she would show up with a whole bunch of paperwork, and if I asked her, do you have any questions, sometimes the clock would start ticking and it would go on and on and on. She always had a lot of questions. One of her favorite questions was, how many trees are you planting, and what type of trees, and what is the number of the trees? And she would often conclude that the number and the type were insufficient. And she would prompt, ask, request applicants to put in more trees and try to restore habitat that perhaps is being taken down, or trees that are being removed, and have them replaced with as many trees as is being removed. So somewhere on cable, and John, does this have a reference on cable, on the cable television now? Anywhere? Or how could, if someone wanted to see the presentation and see all the nice things that we said about Carrie Mellinson for her service to the town, how could they see that? I know cable taped it, if you will, or recorded it.
I believe it's on the BCAT News, which is accessible on the webpage.
Okay, so we could probably get a link on the BCAT News that would take someone right there, couldn't we? I know that.
I did, Larry. I saw it on BCAT News. I get an email from them, and I just clicked on their link, and it was there.
Could you send that link to us, and then
Sure,
if you can find it again, and anybody, and maybe John or Eileen, if somebody inquires about seeing our brief presentation, that we could send them the link and they could go to it. How does that sound?
Okay.
All right. I mean, Kerry was there for an awful lot, and we thought it was important. We conveyed the sentiments of the commissioners that weren't there, and we gave her a little gift that had a dedication page, and it was a photo book, a 12-inch by 12-inch photo book that was about 1 inch thick, of various photos taken from around Burlington. It involved wildlife, pictures of conservation areas, pictures of really good pictures of conservation commissioners, and a whole variety of things. Would anybody like to say anything further on this topic? Very good. Next is a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved, Gail.
second, Bill.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 400. Record to show it's unanimous to adjourn. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Have a good night, folks.